Okay, so I'm here today to talk about my picks for the Central Division playoffs. I'm doing this one separate. I'm going to do the West in a separate video. I'm not going to have them, do the two divisions in the same video like I did in the last one when I did the North and the East divisions. So without further ado, let's get into talking about the Central Division playoffs. Alright, so first up on the agenda, we got Carolina, Nashville. And this is a series I think a lot of people are going to look at and kind of chuckle and say, well, okay, Hurricanes in 3 or something like that, because that's how lopsided it's looking to be. But if you're Carolina, don't sleep on Nashville. They got hot down the stretch. They've been playing some good hockey. They have some guys who can score still. They still have Philip Forsberg. They have some guys. Luke Cunnin was heating up too down the stretch. Obviously, Ryan Johansson's a dangerous player. Roman Josi on the back end. So if you're Carolina, key to you guys winning this series is don't sleep on Nashville, because if you do that, you could be in a lot of trouble. So let's look at some of their stats. Carolina, goals for 179, goals against 136. They're second on the power play at a 25.6% success rate, and they're third on the penalty kill at 85.2%. For Nashville, they have 156 goals for, 154 against. Their power play is at 17.6%. That's good for 23rd. Their PK is what really concerns me, 29th at 75.4%. Carolina is the better coach team. I'm going to put it that way. Rod Brind'Amour is a better coach than John Hynes, in my opinion. I find a John Hynes coach team gives up a lot defensively. I find a John Hynes coach team doesn't always seem prepared to come out of the gates. That was the big knock on him in New Jersey. His teams just never seem to be prepared there to start a game, or what tendencies the opponents might have. And that kind of seemed to carry over at times in Nashville. I think they did a better job of playing better and having better starts down the stretch. But, can John Hynes out-coach Rod Brind'Amour? I don't think so. I think Carolina wins in coaching. I think Carolina's more deep up front. I think Carolina's faster than Nashville. I think Carolina has the better group of defensemen, and that's saying something considering Nashville has a team with Matthias Ekholm and Roman Josi on the back end. But for Carolina, they have a lot of good ones on the back end too. Obviously, Jake Gardner's a good player. I know people laugh about his Game 7 mishaps in Boston. He's still a good player. But the real elite ones are like Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce. These guys are really good defenders. They got good young forwards too. Sebastian Aho, Marty Necas is coming onto the scene too. Teuvo Teravainen is a very good player for them as well. But the big question for me in Carolina is in net. Are they going to go with the youngster Alex Nedeljkovic, who's been playing well? Are they going to go with Peter Mrazek or James Reimer? I doubt they go with Reimer. Probably either Mrazek or Nedeljkovic are going to get the start in the playoffs. Maybe you go with Nedeljkovic. He's been playing a lot lately. Mrazek hasn't played as much due to injury. Nashville and net, who do they go with, Saros or Rinne? I mean, that's going to be interesting to see as well. I think in net they're either even, or I might have to give the slight edge to Nashville. And I know Pekka Rinne, he is what he is. These last few years he's kind of been falling off a little bit. But you know what? He's still a guy who I think can come up and play well and, make a big splash for Nashville and even steal games for them still, even at this stage in his career. So you look at Nashville's penalty kill and you say, okay, it's absolute garbage. Well, yeah, that is true. But with that being said, I could also see their penalty kill getting better in the playoffs, because when you play in the playoffs against the same team, the same power play over and over again, you learn their tendencies really well. If you have a coaching staff that can adjust really well, which I'm not so sure John Hynes can do, maybe he will, maybe he'll prove me wrong. But if he can make good adjustments to Carolina's power play, which has been clicking along pretty good, it's second in the league, and they're going to have to, I mean, who knows? Maybe that could turn it around for Nashville. They could have a really good penalty kill. But for Carolina, are you going to play with that, putting some doubt in Nashville's heads that, hey, you guys can't take penalties against us because we have the second-ranked power play and you guys have, a bottom feeder penalty kill? And Nashville, are they going to be thinking that in their heads too? We can't take penalties against these guys. And not that you're going out thinking, I'm going to take a penalty tonight. But when you have that in your head, that I gotta watch we don't take a penalty here, so the team doesn't get put shorthanded against a team's really good power play and we got a bad penalty kill, that affects your 5-on-5 play. There's no question about it. So that'll be interesting to see as well if that affects Nashville at 5-on-5. Final predictions for this one though, I think Carolina in 5. Yes, I said it, Hurricanes in 5. I just don't see a scenario unless if Pekka Rinne or UC Saros can get really hot and steal some games for Nashville down the stretch here, or sorry, in the playoffs, not down the stretch, in the playoffs. I don't really see this series going beyond 5. Carolina's deeper, they're faster. Like I said earlier, their special teams are just better by a lot. So the Predators are going to have their hands full. Hats off to them. They worked hard to get in down the stretch. But Carolina's just a far more superior team. So Canes in 5. Okay, so next up we're going to have our first ever Battle of the Sunshine State between the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who would have thought 30 years ago that 2 Florida teams would be battling it out in the playoffs? But here we are today, and it's 2 Florida teams battling it out in the playoffs. So let's get some numbers on these teams. So Florida, their power play ranked 15th at 20.5%. Their penalty kill ranked 17th, 79.8%. Goals for, 189. Goals against, 153. Tampa Bay, 9th on the power play, 22.4%. Their penalty kill is 4th at 84.2%. Goals for, 181. Goals against, 147. So they defend, they're similar numbers, 5 on 5 anyways. I think Tampa definitely is going to have the large advantage in special teams. Tampa is going to have the large advantage in experience, no doubt. Obviously, winning the Stanley Cup last year goes a long way for them. And are they guaranteed to win again because they have Patrick Maroon on the team, and every time Patrick Maroon's on a team, they seem to win the Stanley Cup, or at least that's the trend the last couple of years anyways. And even though Florida's getting the home ice advantage in this series, they didn't finish too far apart from each other, these two teams. Tampa Bay, they're not an underdog in this series. They're definitely the favorite for me. There's no question about that, despite them starting on the road because of the factors that I mentioned. They have the experience. I do still think they are the better team. Bless Florida's hearts, the Panthers' hearts. They played well this year. They've done a lot of good things. They're well coached. They got a good coach in Joe Quenneville. But Tampa happens to have a pretty good coach too in John Cooper. So I think as far as coaching goes, they're pretty even. These two are going to play against each other again, those two coaches, or at least coach against each other again. As we know, John Cooper was with the Lightning, the same Tampa Bay Lightning back in 2015. Joel Quenneville was then the head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks, who went on to beat Cooper's Lightning in 6 games to win the Stanley Cup. And again, I tend to take the side of a team that has a strong penalty kill because I really am a big believer in strong penalty killing, helping you get, not necessarily win the cup all the time. The team with the strongest penalty kill doesn't always go on to win the cup. But you give yourself a really darn good chance to go on and win a Stanley Cup, or at least get past some of the early rounds and the earlier opponents. I am picking Tampa in this series. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a dogfight. Tampa in 6, for me, I'm comfortable with that. I don't know if it's going to go all the way to 7. I just think Florida, despite them having some guys who have been around a little while, they lack experience just because of the fact that a lot of those guys have not seen the playoffs a lot in Florida. And that's been the case. The Panthers are only making it for the 3rd time in the last 8 or 10 years or something like that. Well, they made it last year, but I'm talking about a normal year. So Florida, like I said, hats off to them for everything they've done, but Tampa in 6, that's my thoughts on that series, and I think the Lightning are going to prevail, and for at least the first round anyways, they're going to defend their title. So those are my thoughts on these two series, guys. Please let me know what you all think in the comments down below. Am I wrong? Are these teams that I picked to lose these two series, are they going to come up and upset the teams that I picked to win? Let me know all that and more in the comments down below. Please like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.